Good morning and welcome to the Core Connection. I'm Mira Rubin here with you on Enlightened World Network, and this is Maggie. And today our topic is balancing the energy bodies. So, yesterday we talked about balancing the chakras, and now we're going to take it literally to a new dimension. But before we get started, let's take a minute or two to get present and let's take a deep breath in through your nose and hold it. And imagine clean, crisp oxygen flooding your lungs, flowing into your bloodstream, nourishing your cells, and bringing vital life energy throughout your body and being. And as you exhale any tension, any stress, fatigue, negativity. And now let's take another deep breath in through your nose and hold it. And this time, imagine brilliant, bright light lighting you up from the inside out, energizing, electrifying, and illuminating from the inside out to brighten you in your expression in the world. And as you exhale any remaining tension, stress, negativity, and fatigue. And now let's just gently press our palms together and really softly rub your fingers against your palms to feel the deliciousness of that wonderful sensation and bring yourselves present right here, right now. Welcome, welcome. It's Friday, and we're going to top off the week by talking about energy. We talked about that yesterday and how we can bring ourselves back to center by aligning our energy centers and using that as a practice to create a, a uniform or a whole field of our own energy around us to create balance and ease and more clarity, sense of safety and presence. And so today we're going to take it a step further. I've had occasion to good morning, Rosalind. Welcome, welcome. Happy Friday to you and to everyone who's joining us. We're talking about balancing the energy bodies beyond the energy centers that are part of our physicalness. So, and working with one client who is super attuned to energy and very well, super sensitive. She had her second COVID shot and was feeling really bad, and we were debating as to whether to have a session or not, and I muscle tested, and the answer kept coming up. Good morning, Angela. Welcome. I don't know if I've seen your name here before, and if not, even if we have, it's wonderful to have you joining us. So we're talking about balancing the energy bodies today. Anyway, so this one client was feeling very poorly after having had a COVID shot, and she was running a fever, and I muscle tested to see if we should do a session that we had scheduled, and got yes, which was really surprising because normally, it's better to just rest from those kinds of situations. But in any case, Maggie's pretty vocal today, huh? In any case, we did the session, and what came up was to balance the energetic bodies beyond our primary physical energy. And it's interesting because I've been aware of that the fact that we have multiple energetic fields, but it hadn't been in my conscious awareness for a really long time. And yesterday it came up to be working with them. And I thought it might be a benefit to the rest of us as well. And I did a bunch of work on myself with multiple energy bodies this morning because I've been feeling a bit under the weather. And I feel more energized and integrated than I did before that. So uh, some of you may the have cultivated the skill of muscle testing, And I find that to be tremendously beneficial in the work that I do, to get some direction, get some clarity when I'm not really directed consciously or deliberately. Sometimes muscle testing really helps. So I can show you how to muscle test, and I can also tell you that it takes some practice. A lot of people do it this way. So I'm holding my fingers sort of locked in rings, interlocking rings, and then I'm holding those fingers and pulling. And then what you want to do with muscle testing, whether it's that way or some people use their body as a pendulum, sort of, to see which way their body moves. But if we do this with any muscle testing, you want to ask your questions in multiple ways to be able to validate the answer. So here I'm going to say, well, what's a yes? And when I pull on my fingers, you can see that they're staying interlocked. And I can say, what's a no? And when I'm pulling the same way, I can't keep them closed. What's a no? What's a yes? What's a no? And you can try that. The expectation is that a no is going to make the fingers not be able to hold strong, and a yes is going to be able to make them hold strong. And you can practice with that. Now, you don't want to use muscle testing to try and predict future events because it's not accurate. And my experience over more than 30 years muscle testing is that it's not a great idea to try to use muscle testing for emotionally charged events, or issues, because you tend to get skewed answers. We can affect the results of muscle testing. So the ideal for using this kind of um, feedback is to be unattached to the outcome and to be very clear about how you ask your questions. So uh, you don't, first of all, they have to be yes and no questions. You can't ask what's the nature of the universe, because you just get yeses and nos. And you need to be clear, like, in my experience, asking questions like, should I do this or should I do that, is not going to give you great answers, because in the workings of the universe, should doesn't really exist, right? So you could say, would it be to my highest good to do this? Would this benefit me, emotionally, physically, whatever? And then you also want to ask it the opposite way. Would it be detrimental to me? And if you're getting answers that don't jive with each other, then something is off with your muscle testing. And it does take practice, because sometimes what can happen too is that you just get no answers. There's like, you get a jumble, and that's when, like, circuits are switched. So then it's a good idea to just sort of shake it out and maybe take a break and come back to it later. But anyway, I have found muscle testing to be profoundly effective in my work with myself and my work with my clients. And the reason I'm talking about it is because if not too many of us are sensitive, first of all, to the notion that we have multiple energy bodies or energetic fields, multiple dimensions of them, and secondly, how to tune into them. So I can't say that I'm physically sensitive to them. However, this client that I worked with yesterday which was awesome. So what happened was, we worked in these different energetic bodies, and in her eighth energetic body. I know that there are schools of thought that name these different bodies and that talk about their characteristics. And how many there are, and I really have no idea about any of that. And the fact is that I don't even have to know in order to be able to interact with them effectively, because I can muscle test and say, okay, we're working in the eighth energetic body. And what we did with her, which was really interesting, was to tune into each consecutive energetic field. And some were small, some were large. And we'd go to check out the chakras in each of those energetic bodies, and did balancing through those different bodies. And then the eighth body had a lot going on, and a lot of emotion was arising as we were working in it. And as we balanced everything, when we started, she was feeling feverish and not well at all. And after going through balancing the energy bodies, she was in much better shape. She didn't feel feverish, which was amazing. And she had purged some emotion. Good morning, Lisa. Welcome. It's great to have you here. Um, Sorry, I dropped my phone. Um, so I'm talking about this because there's so many. Um, I'm thinking that I'm just going to say the word assaults from energy in our environment that our best defense. And I don't, again, I don't like using these words, because my belief is that by keeping our fields whole and balanced, that we're in good shape, that we're better able to navigate the world, that we don't need all kinds of protections. What we need is to make ourselves whole. This is where that's my belief. And my working hypothesis. I'm not saying it's true. I'm saying that's where I come from. But I think that being more aware of our own energy and our own energy fields really puts us in a better place to navigate the world, and to come from a place of presence and balance, and we help ourselves um, to take better care of ourselves this way. So I'm wondering if any of you have had the experience of connecting with these broader fields. If this is a new concept, each of those fields, each of those energy bodies also has its own energy centers, its own chakras. And it may be that this is all just a construct or multiple constructs. I mean, I think that ultimately all of it is a construct, but I think it's a useful construct to be able to affect our experience in a positive and powerful way. So I'm wondering, is this something that resonates for you? Have you had any experience with? Okay, so A Hug So Tight. What a great name. So A Hug So Tight says, this is a new concept for me, but I'm a very basic beginner. Well, I have to tell you that I don't think it's a basic concept. I don't think it's something that most people are aware of. Um, but uh, we do have access to these different dimensions of energy. And as we can think about them, then we can affect them. And even whether it's true or not true, that by conceptualizing it and interacting with it, we have an ability to affect change in our experience. So we talked yesterday, we were balancing the energy. Sing it, Maggie. Yeah, right, Lisa? Yeah, she's pretty engaged this morning. Anyway, we were talking about the 7 primary energy centers, and then an 8th energy center that's about 18 inches above the head, and bringing all the energy up this light channel, balancing it with each energy center as we go, going into the 8th energy center, and then allowing that energy to come down as a cascade of, like a fountain of energy, that then goes back up through the root and through the energy centers, and just keeps going around and around and around to build the field and to nourish and regenerate. And when we take that same concept into these other energy bodies, it's really, really interesting. And one of the things that we did in this session with my client was use the breath, breathing into those energy fields, or breathing into a particular center within that energy field, and that affected the size of the field, the dimension of the field, the color of the field. I mean, she's super tuned in. So for her, it was a very, very vivid experience, you know, where she could actually physically, or I'll say physically, connect, but you know, she could experience the energy of it. But Maggie's over at the plant again. Maggie, come here, baby. Come on, Maggie. I'm sorry. Just give me 1 second, because Maggie loves to um, disrupt these sessions. It's really funny. She uh, she challenges me and you guys by, it's like she knows when she can try to get away with things. And there's this one plant that's a magical plant, and it's called a night blooming Sirius, Cereus. If you have the opportunity to check it out, go look up night blooming Sirius online. It's a spectacular plant, and it has flowers that bloom once a year, and they only bloom for one night. They open and they close overnight. And this plant, she's been really working on destroying it for some time, and it still has flowers. And so it bloomed while I was away, but it has 2 other flowers that are waiting to bloom. And it's exciting, but I also just need to protect this plant from her. Anyway, so that's why I get up to go get her. I wouldn't do that if it weren't a big deal. So, and I know that you guys enjoy having her here. So that's kind of the price we pay for having Maggie be part of our broadcast here. Anyway, we're talking about these energy bodies. Maggie, come on, baby. She's doing it again. There she is. So it was really interesting yesterday to find that in the course of doing this session, one of the energy bodies, the 8th energy body, was red, and it was really, really big. And so by using the breath and breathing in and out of the different energy centers within these energy bodies, it affected change, and also being aware of what was going on when we got to the different energy centers. Sometimes there was an emotion that arose, or sometimes there was a feeling, a sensation that arose as we checked into each of these different centers. So I'm wondering, do you have any experience with this? Have you tried it? And maybe we can even just tune in to, like, here when we work with chakras, we're connecting them to our body. But I'm wondering what happens if you can just take a moment and be present and feel into the next level energy body that might be around that. As I'm tuning into it, I tend to think that I'm not all that sensitive to a lot of energy. At least it doesn't register in my head that I am. But as I was just doing that, I kind of got goosebumps. Like, I don't have hair on my arms, but if I did, it would have stood up. It just was like kind of electrical and tingly to be connecting with this next level energy body. And as you tune into it right now, I'm wondering, do you have any experience of it? So as we tune into it, and I am getting kind of tingly sensations, and I'm uh, noticing something around, like between the solar plexus and heart, actually. And interestingly enough, I was sensing it in my back, and I'm wondering if you have any similar experience as you sort of tune in. Are you aware of any kind of sensation? Are you aware of any kind of shift in your energy as you imagine this field that is kind of an envelope that's surrounding your physical body? What happens for you as you tune into that? And then if you notice that as you tune into it, if you are able to experience it, if you notice any kind of sensation or any kind of imbalance, what happens if you breathe into it? Because this is energy, so the likelihood is that it's easier to, I'm imagining that it's easier to shift because it's like another field once removed, sort of. So how would you do that? So I'm just imagining, I'm imagining, or imaging, we could say, or for those of us that don't visualize super well, maybe just feeling into it. So I'm kind of imagining that there's this energy field that's outside my body, and kind of tuning into that if it were there. And it could be all an exercise in imagination, it could be, but it tuning into it as if it were there. And as I'm doing that, what I'm noticing for me is that I'm getting like this tingling in between my shoulder blades, and right kind of at the level of my heart, but in my back and between my shoulder blades. And I'm actually getting goosebumps down my arms. And so whether it's real or it's not real, I'm noticing that there's something energetically going on between my shoulders, but out beyond my body a bit. And it feels like you're making it up. And maybe you are. But even if we are making it up, it doesn't mean that it won't have an impact to interact with it. So, because it could be coming from our other than conscious awareness that's saying, hey, this needs some attention. So I've got that kind of tingling, weird sensation between my shoulder blades. Now, if I take my breath and I focus it there, and I imagine that I'm breathing in and out of that place, what I notice is that it feels like it's smoothing out. So it's smoothing out and it's feeling a bit more gentle. So a hug so tight says, I noticed a reaction to smile as if I had a certain type of fruit that makes me smile. Well, that's beautiful. That's a lovely thing. And maybe you just gave yourself the gift of a smile. Good for you. And ooh, there's definitely something going on. It just released in my back. I got tingles and goosebumps. So I think it's a good exercise because there are other dimensions of being, other dimensions of awareness, other dimensions of experience that we don't normally access. But when we create a construct that gives us access, we can actually impact those. We can actually impact that dynamic in a way that we wouldn't if we were unaware, right? Like it wouldn't have occurred to me to go checking this space in between my shoulders. But as I tuned into at least the imaginings of that energy body, I was able to have this experience and something shifted. I don't know what it was, but I could feel it in my body. It was a sensation that I experienced. So it's interesting how when we put ideas to things, when we um, put a visualization to something, if we put words to something, it gives us a way to think about something or to access experiences that we might not otherwise be aware of. So you've probably heard that Eskimos have a gazillion different words for snow, all different distinctions about snow that most of us don't have any awareness of. But when we start making these distinctions, when we start creating a context, when we create a language for it, then can expand our lexicon, that it expands not only our words, but it expands our capacity to recognize something. And I think that that's the case with this notion of multiple energy bodies, that it gives us a refined, or it provides a refinement to our our ability to create balance for ourselves. So I hope that you'll try that out, and I'd love to have your feedback around it to see if you feel more balanced, if you feel more connected by playing with these things. And I think it gives us inroads into our beingness, to play with these constructs, not necessarily as something that is hard and fast and true, but as a vehicle to enrich our awareness and our experience. So anyway, it's Friday. It's been wonderful, wonderful, wonderful to be back with you guys. I so appreciate you, and I appreciate you playing with me in these morning musings. And I wish you a wonderful, wonderful weekend. I'm Mira Rubin. This is the Core Connection. This is Maggie. Whoops, there she is. And we go live each weekday morning on Enlightened World Network. Please check out the awesome programming and wonderful community in the Enlightened World Network Facebook page, and EWN One with the Earth, and Enlightened World Living. And hopefully, I will get to see you again next week. Lots and lots and lots of love to you.